Hello, and welcome back again. We are into our third week of our Perfection Challenge, and we'll start off again with a quick refresh of our spring goals. We'll get into our weekly goals and then our daily, as usual. So as for our spring goals, we've achieved the minecarts and the vault, and now we just need to get our level 10 farming, a couple hundred sprinklers, or at least 100, and our barn and coop, and hopefully make some money. We have our first stage of barn, but we need quite a bit more than that. And then as for today, we had good luck, so that means we are going to go to the Skull Caverns, and we'll get into that in the goals here in a second. But first I want to touch real quick on what our weekly goals are for the third week. We're going to try and work on our farming level 6, which I realize now is not actually attainable. That should be more of a next week kind of goal. But we do want to max our barn out, set our farm up for a level 10 farm before spring ends, start our really major gifting runs where a whole day will be dedicated to gifts basically, upgrade our hoe, and try to make somewhere in the ballpark of $300,000 just so we can afford all of the star fruit we need. But like I said, today is a caverns day. We had good luck, and so that means we want to aim for around 500 iridium. That sounded weird. 3 prismatic shards. And we also want to grab coconuts and cacti from the desert and start smelting all the iridium we get. I had mentioned last week that we need about, pretty much 1,000 iridium ore. And that is so that we can get 300 grand so we can buy all of the star fruit seeds we need. I think we need a total of like 320,000 to fill all of our sprinklers with star fruit. And so that's kind of our loose goal for now. If we could manage to get 500 iridium from just 2 runs, that would be nice. But it's not entirely possible. And we'll also we'll have some other expenses too, so technically we'll need a little bit more money than that. And I fast forwarded a pretty good chunk of the caverns, but I'll explain to you my general strategy. And I don't do anything special. I do, I think, what most people do, which is rush down as fast as possible until iridium becomes relatively plentiful. And then I use my slingshot pretty much as often as possible to blow up any nodes that are close to walls, and then bombs to blow up anything that's a little further away. And that's really it. I will always prioritize shafts, obviously, just to get down deeper faster. And I'll use staircases as I have them. I'll also use them for any monster floors, or just floors like the big winding floor where it takes forever to get out of. But overall, I don't have any special strategy for the caverns. There's really nothing to them. It's a matter of staying alive, I guess. That's like the main thing. If I die, I will obviously restart the run. I would never keep a run where I died, because you might lose all your iridium or a weapon or something like that. And we've done quite well on our goals, I would say, overall. We may not quite get 500 iridium, but we have plenty of prismatic shards, which we'll use for a rock candy on Thursday. We'll use 1 for the galaxy sword today, which was a pretty big priority for us. And the rest of them we'll probably use for gifts for any townsfolk that are generally hard to gift. People like Kent, who only really likes roasted hazelnuts and a couple other late game things. And people like Alex, who's similar in their love gifts, where it's kind of hard to get stuff they love. So that's generally what we'll do with our prismatic shards. I won't use them for money. I could, but I don't think money is going to be tight enough to justify that. They're more valuable for me to get friendship stuff done. I really just want to get friendship out of the way and be completely done with it as soon as possible, even though I know it won't be until maybe mid-fall that most people are done with their hearts. And at some point, I'd like to have probably somewhere around 50 furnaces, just so we can smelt everything we need to. It takes a really long time to smelt iridium, and even longer to smelt radioactive ore once we have that. So the more furnaces, the better. And it doesn't really matter if we pass out tonight. We only have $140, so if we pass out, it only costs us $14. And yeah, it looks like we did. We would have had an additional $5,000 if we were able to sell that jelly, but we couldn't, so whatever. We did end up getting the blacksmithing perk, which will allow us to start selling iridium bars for their full price. And that was probably one of the more pressing issues, I guess. The other thing I'm going to have to juggle with smelting is iron. So we'll need, like I said, more furnaces, but we also need to find ways to smelt iron and copper as we smelt the iridium, just to stay up on kegs and ammo. And that'll be kind of a challenge. We're also going to start harvesting our gold parsnips, which I'll talk about in a moment here. We'll do some gifts today, buy more kale, and just farm copper and iron, as well as upgrade our hoe, which is kind of lower on the list, but still kind of important. So really quick about the parsnips. Every day I'll go out and I'll pick all the parsnips. I'll take note of which ones were gold quality, and then I'll reset and I'll just pick the gold quality ones. That allows me to only harvest the ones I need and not worry about any other ones. That's the strategy. It's pretty simple. If you don't mind resetting, it's really easy to do, and I would recommend it for that particular community center item. And we also got the reward for reaching floor 25 in the caverns, which was 10,000 gold. And I guess with that, we'll probably buy... I don't know if we need to buy anything. We have everything we need for the most part. We need those parsnip seeds, like I had mentioned. And I guess the backpack, that's a pretty big one that I had completely forgot about. The backpack will be really helpful, especially for gift runs, just because so many people require different gifts. And here's an instance where we got 2 really bad special order board quests. We got 2 quests that don't yield recipes, and one of which is repeatable and one of which is not. I chose the one that is not repeatable, because that way it kind of narrows the pool for future quests. But those 2 are useless and kind of bad luck that we got them. I wish it would have been something different, but it is what it is. And we also participated in the only cutscene I will watch in this entire run. It's the only one I remember the right option for, and it's quick enough that I don't mind doing it. And that's just to award a little bit extra friendship with Haley before the flower dance. And another mistake I made there, I gave Jody a daffodil, and she hates daffodils. I would have restarted, but Jody is low priority. She's very easy to gift. She hasn't had a birthday yet, and I didn't really have any hearts with her anyway, so it's pretty low consequence. And frankly, I was sick of restarting this day, so I just kind of let it go. And yeah, I did have to go back to our farm to grab a couple things I had forgotten. But otherwise our day is going pretty much how we planned it. Gifting is getting done, upgrades are getting done, with only one relatively major mistake and 1 bit of bad luck. Luckily that the produce quest will be really easy to achieve because we'll be harvesting so much kale by the end of spring. But it's still one of my least favorite special orders to get. And I don't know why I chose to go to the museum again. I guess I was in the area, and I knew I would have to visit the kids and Penny in here, so I might as well bring by a couple artifacts. But some of these days, like when I have to do the gifting route, I get a little bit more carefree on forgetting things. I kind of write off a gift day as a complete waste or a complete loss, because it sort of is, as far as financially. So if I make little mistakes and have to run back to grab an extra gift, I usually won't reset. Occasionally I will, but it's not that common. I'm also going to go to the Secret Woods just because it's a burner day. And I'm not really going to harvest too many salmon berries. I'll get a couple just to sell. But salmon berries are pretty worthless for just about everything. They're not worth anything to sell. I just need to sell one. And I can get them from the farm cave. So like, it's just a waste of time. It's a waste of time to harvest a bunch. I won't harvest any blackberries either in fall. It's a waste of my time. I did stock up a little bit on gifts. I got some spaghetti for Robin. It's one of her easier loved gifts. And since I could just buy her a gift, I don't want to waste too many prismatic shards on her. I will probably still end up wasting some, but I want to keep that to a minimum and use it for people who actually need them. And I also bought our second batch of kale seeds that are needed for farming level 6. I'll need to buy an additional 700 kale seeds for the strategy I'm using to get level 10. Normally you would wait until summer to worry about level 10 farming, but because of how I'm doing all of this, I need to plant my star fruit later than usual. I need to plant it on the 3rd, and therefore I need level 10 farming to get the 10% crop speed bonus earlier. So I have to do a kind of funkier route for farming, as opposed to just getting level 10 when you harvest your first star fruit crop. And then the rest of the night I just harvested a little tiny bit of copper and iron. Not harvest, but you know what I mean. So we got another day that we can go to the caverns. We had good luck, and we had nothing else to do around the farm for chores. So we're going to head into the caverns. And because the luck today was only pyramid luck, which I didn't show, but that's what it was, we're going to go for a little bit less iridium. And like I said before, we need 220 bars or so, or essentially like a couple thousand, or 1,100 iridium ore. And we also want to try and get at least 3 diamonds per run, and that's just to keep our speed up. All of our diamonds will be traded for triple shot espresso, and you need around 3 or 4 triple shot espressos to last you a full day in the caverns, so that's why we want at least 3. And the last item on that list was more furnaces. That will be the case for a while until I get somewhere near those 50 furnaces I want to have. It's just always good to have extra furnaces. Stone isn't really a problem for this run, at least with how I'm doing it. If you do it if you focus more on iridium being your main source of income, then stone will be a problem for you. But I don't think that is the right way to do this. And I don't want to spend all of my time in the skull caverns. So I'm going a more like crop heavy money run. And so yeah, I don't really need a lot of stone. And we'll get a ton of stone just from the few runs we're doing anyway, so there's no reason to burn any money or extra energy in like stone farming and wasting our time with that kind of stuff. I feel like stone farming is probably among the biggest time wastes, just because you're like, single item farming seems really wasteful. Like if you're only farming copper, or if you're only farming, like void essence. Like if I were to go back and farm more void essence, it would be a complete waste. The early game it makes sense because it's one of your only options, but anything later on it seems pretty foolish to me, so we'll stick to our crop and iridium route. Even though I guess technically we're farming iridium exclusively. Kind of sounds like I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite, but as we farm iridium, we're getting tons of other things too, so it's not really a single resource farm. The warp totems are another thing we have to stay on top of, mostly because if we end up in a situation where we run out, we'll lose a pretty good chunk of time having to wait for the bus. So I'll probably spend a lot of my Omni Geodes on warp totems, and eventually I'll start trading them for the artifact troves too, because we do need to finish the museum. That's part of perfection, and artifact troves are a really great way to do that. And we'll finish our day pretty much the same always, which is we'll run back from the caverns, smelt a few bars, maybe build some furnaces, sell some bars, and then go to sleep. We hit level 3 farming, which is pointless, and sold quite a few bars for around 50 grand. The money is not really needed right now, but I like to have money in my pocket for some reason. I almost never pass out, even though it's usually a better strategy, but I don't do it, so having money doesn't matter. We have our first larger harvest today, which is a pretty good chunk of kale, and we also have an apple in our cave, which we're actually going to save, and I'll talk about that in a second. We want to upgrade our barn as well, just because we need to really stay on top of that. And today will be a day we spend with chopping wood and giving gifts, as well as picking up our hoe from Clint and getting a little bit of deluxe speed grow and our rock candy from the desert. And then towards the end of the night, we will start our big crop layout for our large kale harvest / starfruit harvest. And then let's talk about the apple really quick. The apple, we don't need to touch it because we know it's there and it won't go away until the end of the season, but we want to pick it on a day that it grants us the double forage, or we get that bonus. Because I could grab it right now and it would only be worth 1 apple, but if every day I check it, there will be some days that I'll get 2 just because of the forage bonus. And that seems to be determined at the beginning of the day, or based on tile placement per day. So I'm just going to wait for that day that it gives me 2, and then I won't have to worry about apples anymore. Because we'll also get an apple from the traveling cart, or we may have already gotten it, I don't recall. But either way, there will be one. And we don't have to worry about apples anymore. The only fruit we need from the cave will be a pomegranate. Everything else we can get from fruit trees in fall and winter. And then we just have our gift run. We are starting to get a little more universal, or not universal, but specifically loved gifts. So we can speed up our friendship with quite a few people. I did waste a little bit of time there by trying to gift Penny, even though I had already gifted her twice that week. These gift runs will grow shorter and shorter as far as like video coverage is concerned. But I wanted to kind of show you how I generally handle my gifting heavy days. They're usually pretty well routed out in the sense that I will do like a dry run where I'll do all my errands and take note of everybody I pass in the town, and then I'll reset, grab all the gifts that I would need, and be able to gift everybody as I hit them, and have the day kind of routed down to the minute, I suppose. And it usually works out pretty well. I don't do it with every day. I do it with some days just because otherwise it would be really time consuming. But yeah, I only bought 100 of the deluxe speed grow today and 15 beet seeds. And the reason I bought the 100 is because I'll need them for the greenhouse. which I'll only probably fill around 100 space with those. And I want all the crops in the greenhouse to grow as fast as possible, especially the winter seeds, which I will need for finishing the community center. And then next Thursday, or the Thursday after, I'll buy something around 1,000 of the deluxe speed grow, as I just didn't have enough money for all of it today. And I should have bought the fish tacos, they were just really expensive, and so I passed on them, but that's a loved gift for Caroline. So instead I just bought my normal salads and coffee so I can just maintain my speed, basically. Oh, and the beet seeds, I should mention. The beet seeds are actually for wintertime. There is no good reason I bought them today, but it's something I forget about a lot. So as soon as the greenhouse goes up, I will plant the beet seeds and I'll save 10 of them. I'll need 10 to unlock the casino, essentially. So that's just something that I'm I guess I'm preparing for really early, despite it being relatively unnecessary. And then, so this is the beginnings of our large crop layout. We're basically going to be having like 3 plots of 38 sprinklers each. That will be guarded by 2 scarecrows in each plot. And that's kind of generally how they look. You'll see them a lot better once I actually plant the stuff. And you'll get a better look actually tomorrow in the morning when it's a little lighter out. There's no major rush to get it done yet. We don't have to plant all the kale until, I guess the 22nd. But once we plant it, if we don't have level 6 farming in time, we'll have a bit of a problem. And we have good luck again today. So we're going to go to the caverns. And here's where that apple comes in. We have a guaranteed apple on this cart. So we're going to buy the 1 apple from the cart, as well as a couple different fish and a seafoam pudding, which we'll get into that a little later in the video. I guess the title of the video and the thumbnail are a bit of a spoiler for that. And we're also going to start trying a little bit more for batteries. And by trying, I just mean we're going to be killing more bats. We'll need 5 batteries to unlock Ginger Island. And we could have bought one right there, which would have maybe been a good idea. But it's pretty likely we'll be able to get the batteries pretty easily from the burglar's ring and killing iridium bats. So we'll do that, and we'll also try for around 400 to 500 iridium today. We're getting to the caverns a little bit late, so that kind of impacts the amount of iridium we'll get. But I think we'll still be able to get a fair amount. And I just got the hiccups, which is really obnoxious. And we got the same strategy for the caverns today. We could use monster musk, and at some point we likely will. But right now, my focus is mainly on money and not on random dropped goods. So I'm less interested in killing a bunch of enemies, and I'm more interested in just getting down as quickly as possible. And so that's what we're doing. I don't know how many batteries. I suppose there are going to be brief shots of the inventory. I know I got a few iridium sprinklers today and a couple batteries. I don't expect to get all 5 in one go, but if I can get 2 or 3 and just go to the caverns, 3 or 4 more times, we'll have more than enough. And I would anticipate we have 2, so that's not too bad. But something that's really important, and the reason I settled on a relatively low iridium run, is we got 2 rain totems. And because I was kind of worried about hitting level 6 farming in time, I knew I might have to rely on rain totems or watering the crops. And so I kind of had to keep this run because I had 2 rain totems out of it. If we can get it to rain, or I guess here's the situation. If we don't get level 6 farming, and we have over 700 kale planted, we're going to burn way too much time trying to water it and way too much energy trying to water it. So we'll have to either hope for rain, or with the rain totems, we can guarantee the rain and get a couple extra days of time to get level 6 farming. Hopefully it won't come to that, but if that is the situation, which it's looking to be that way, we should be okay for 2 days now, which is nice. And then it is going to rain tomorrow, which means it might be valuable to just get that kale on the ground right now, and then we can just carry that rain on for 2 days. And that's very much what we're going to do. But yeah, skull caverns are almost always unremarkable. I'm yet to have a run that I've been personally impressed by. It's not one of my strong points, mostly because of I don't know if I've mentioned this actually, but I play on a controller, so a slingshot is really awful to use, and I think that impacts my general performance. And so we're into day 20 now. I'm up to a pretty considerable amount of resets, and that's mostly because I was trying to get the legend, and I gave up. So anyway, like I mentioned with the rain, we're going to totem today to try and make sure our crop plan doesn't fail. We're going to make sure we give Shane a gift today, buy all of our kale, expand the farm out, and get hopefully everything planted, and also upgrade our barn the final time. We are running extremely low on time for getting a goat and pig up to their happiness level they need to be to get their goods in time to open up the community center when I want to. And that likely means that with the goat, we're probably going to have to exploit the animation canceling friendship and essentially animation cancel milking the goat so it builds friendship points. And then once it's a high enough friendship, you milk it and get a large milk. It's looking like we might have to do that because it takes like a week for the goat to be happy. And I don't know if we're happy enough to make a large milk. And I don't know if we have that time. So that is our plan B if we have to use it. But for now, we're going to just keep expanding our farm and hope we get things planted. There's no real reason why it has to have like a double wide path in the middle like this. That's typically in the event that you switch over all your your sprinklers to iridium sprinklers. With a double wide path, it makes it so you can, it makes the layout work really well so that you don't have to till anything extra except for those paths. It's not worth explaining because I'm not going to do it. But I am going to plant all the kale and smelt iridium, gold, and iron and copper as we do it, which will kind of slow us down and might make it so we can't plant all the kale in one go, but we still will have plenty of time. Sorry, I trailed off there. I also made the iridium band. I made that because I've played this day a few times, and one of the biggest things that was frustrating me was towards the end of the night when I was planting, I couldn't see where I had planted the seeds because I didn't have a glow ring. And so I just worked it into the day that I would make an iridium band, which eventually I'll want anyway. And I would use that to help me see. I also harvested the last of the parsnips because they were the last gold quality ones I needed. And that's it. We hit level 5 farming, which is useless to us. But we did end up getting lucky and got a natural rain day, so we don't have to use our totem today, and we can use it tomorrow and buy ourselves a little extra time. And today is the day we pick our apple because we got our double bonus. And yeah, a lot of resets today. And once again, that is because of the legend. Very, very frustrating fish, to say the least. And so today on the cart we have our walleye and tiger trout, which are the winter and fall fish we need to complete the community center. We're also going to buy a rare seed. We'll need a couple, one for the dude in the forest and one to sell. We're going to pick up the iridium rod, some crab pots, and try to fish up the legend. And we're also going to do some gifts and things like that. There's not a good reason for me to get the legend now. I didn't have like a ton of stuff I wanted to accomplish today. And since it was raining and my fishing was relatively high, I thought it might be worth doing. And for some reason, once I got that in my head, I decided I had to do it. And so I just spent a lot of effort trying to make sure I got legend. Typically, the legend requires level 10 fishing to get. But because we bought that seafoam pudding last week, we can bump up our fishing level from 9 to 11 or 12 or whatever it is. And then we can use the iridium rod with a trap bobber to make fishing up the legend really, really easily. Really easy, not easily, whatever. And right now I'm also like just kind of showing you what my chests look like. I usually take a lot of this out, and you don't really get a glimpse of how I organize things out. It's not very well organized, but from left to right, I generally do like seeds, and then I do like the green chest, which is naturally occurring stuff, and then the black chest, which is like monsters and minerals, and then I have my like ingredients chest, my community center chest, and then the far right is my gifts chest. That's what I try to do, and it gets really messed up all the time. So I usually get rid of a lot of the sorting, but I don't know, I tried to keep a little bit of that in this time, just so you could see like, I don't know, a little bit behind of the editing to a degree. And then yeah, just making my rounds with gifts. I did this day in a very poor order, because think about how long all of this is taking. And a lot of it's fast forwarded, a lot of it is cut to be faster. But I essentially spend all day doing gifts and random errands and little things until around 2 o'clock, when I finally try to start fishing for the legend. And if I don't hook the legend by the time the food wears off, I can no longer catch the legend because I'm not fishing level high enough. And I have to reset the whole day to try again. So it really doesn't make sense that I'm doing all this. Like, I should really have routed this differently to where I didn't have to redo all the gifting and everything like that before trying for the fish. And so I don't know, that's a mistake that I learned. I don't know, I mean, hindsight's 20/20, right? On a day that you know you're gonna have to reset a lot, don't do a bunch of random stuff before the RNG element. Do the RNG element first, so that you can just reset a 5-minute chunk instead of a 10-minute chunk, you know? That's kind of irrelevant and beside the point, but it felt like it was maybe a little bit valid to mention. And yeah, I wasted a lot of time today, a real life time. But eventually everything panned out, and we were able to make everything align. And because of the seafoam pudding and trap bobber and a lot of patience, it ended up working out. And on this particular run, I probably hooked the easiest legend you can get. I had once before where I had hooked legend and I just couldn't catch it because it darted way too much. And I had other runs where I just couldn't hook him. And so on this, yeah, and I started cancel casting, which again, in retrospect, is a mistake. Because I should have just caught the fish. Time is frozen, and I need level 10 fishing anyway, but I was getting very frustrated. And so I would just fish. If it didn't have a hat, I would cancel it until I finally got an actual legend hit. And obviously it's still kind of hard to catch, like it does dart a lot. But man, the trap bobber is so valuable. As you can just watch how slow that bar drops when he's trying to escape compared to the normal bar. And yeah, so we got legend, and we were able to finally move on from that hellish portion of the day. I did finish out with a tiny bit more fishing before I decided, like, you know what, I'm not going to waste any more time with this. I caught the one fish I needed, and let's be done fishing for a little while. We'll come back to fishing in early summer when we have to, and then we probably won't revisit it again until, I don't know, maybe fall or winter, and we'll just use magic bait to clean up all the loose ends. And so we headed back to the farm just to do some more smelting. As usual, I want to have iron on deck in the event that we have good luck and I need explosive ammo for the skull caverns. And then we should get staircases today, but I don't know how much jade we have, and I don't think I remembered to get staircases. I don't know what I even came here for, to be honest. Oh, I think I wanted a coconut and a cactus for the community center. And I guess now is a good time to go over what we got done in our third week and what we didn't get done. And we missed two big ones, and one of which I had mentioned was actually not attainable, which was farming level 6. We only got farming level 5. And yeah, man, now that I'm thinking about it again, we probably could have got it. But something went wrong, and hopefully the remainder of the crops allow us to get it tomorrow or the next day. And we also didn't make our money goal, which was like 300k cash in hand. And that's okay. We don't need the star fruit for a while. I just kind of wanted to have it done early. Just for a peace of mind kind of thing. But I don't know, otherwise we're sitting okay. We have most of the stuff we need. We're missing weird fish. Like, I knew we would be missing a sturgeon, obviously, and a sandfish or whatever they're called. But we're also missing the crab pot bundle, which is usually the first thing we get done. So we'll have to rectify that and be completely done with our fishing portion of the community center. Oh, and the red snapper, I think we're still missing that. And our oak farm is looking a little rough. It's not nearly as fully formed as I'd like it to be, but it's as good as it's going to get. We have a few tappers up, and eventually we'll need we need hundreds of kegs, which is kind of a problem. And that might end up switching to preserve jars instead. I don't know. We'll see. Come back and see the next video. It'll be next Thursday, and I'll see you there.